Hi everyone, Jane here. Thank you for watching today. I am doing a bit of abstract art journaling today with a mix of medias, although they're all sort of paint related. I'm starting off with some of the Tempera paint sticks from Shuttle Art. I did a video on them recently and I will link that down below and at the end, where I was looking at the Tempera paint sticks. But after I did that, I really fancied getting some of the pastel shades. So this is using some of the pastel collection. And so these are not the ones that I show in that video, but they do the same sorts of things. They are really creamy and they go nice and matte down onto the page. They look a little bit glossy at first, but then they go to a really nice matte finish and they dry quite quickly, but they do give you a little bit of time to be able to water them out a little bit and to use your finger to smudge very small amount. So I picked 7 colours that were roughly in a rainbow, not quite, because as I said they are pastel shades, and I started by using them in that order so that I could make sure that I really sort of spread the colours across the page. And I'm just doing really abstract sort of squares and rectangles, but not really worrying too much. I just wanted to get some colour onto the page. I am working in my mixed media pad. I think this is the one from Winsor and Newton. So it's not watercolor paper or anything like that. It is for mixed media. It's fairly inexpensive, and I have taped off the edges with the Scotch blue painter's tape just so that I get a nice clean border around the edges. Now they do go down, they're not totally opaque, they do go down a little bit translucent, as you will be able to see. Where I go one colour over another, you can still see a bit of that colour underneath, and at times you'll also see me trying to blend them. So I was trying to see if I could get a little bit of blending between the colours, but because they are fairly quick drying, you don't really get much of that going on. Now, I did sort of leave it to make sure it had thoroughly dried, and then I got out some of my bits and bobs out of a tub that I have. So this is like some of these are stamps that I've made, some of with like rubber, and some are just household items that I've collected. And I'm using some paints from IndigoBlu. They're all a matte acrylic, so they have a really lovely finish, and I wanted a matte acrylic because I wanted it to match in with the really matte background of the Tempera paint sticks. Now I've started off, I just spread a little bit of the paint to the side with my spatula, and then the first one I did was it was a bit of corrugated cardboard. So you don't have to have lots of different products to be able to do fun mark making on your projects. I'm sure if you look in your recycling bin, you'll probably find lots of things that can make really good patterns. Now, these stamps are with I think it's a speedball rubber that I bought. It was like I think it was soft carve, so it was nice and soft to carve, and I have special tools. And I had a little phase, as I do with many things, where I decided I wanted to carve some stamps. I only ever got to being any good at doing very, very basic shapes, but they are really fun and they are nice and chunky. And on a page like this, where it's very abstract and very bold and you're not really doing anything refined, they really work well, and they work nicely with the paint as well. If you're ever going to use your normal stamps with paint, then do just make sure that you wash them straight away, because you do not want your paint drying onto your your proper factory made stamps. I then went in with a little bit of Posca pen as well, just to add a little bit of black around some of those edges. And before that I was using I think it was like a bobbin that had finished, or no, I know what it was. It had wire wrapped around it, and the wire had been used up, so I kept it to just be good for mark making in these sorts of projects. So I'm working my way through different colours in the paints, and I will list them down in the description box as I do usually, and I will put some links where necessary if that was helpful to you. Just remember that I am based in the UK, so IndigoBlu are a UK company, so I'm sure they do have stockists in other places, but that would be something you would have to check out yourself. So I am also now dotting some of the little bits of paint, and this worked so well. I really loved the effect I got. In fact, I have to say, I think I preferred dotting with this. It's just like an embossing ball tool than I did with using a pen. And it was such fun, and they came out such lovely little domed dots of paint, and I think I will definitely be doing that more in the future. Obviously, it did take a little bit longer because they were quite domed. Now, this is the Whimsical Girls colouring book from Jane Davenport, and I have used this before. I don't use it for colouring, so I've decided to use the images within the book to have as collage elements, and I was trying to find something to go on this page, and I found this girl on the craft paper, and I just thought it went really nice. It was a bit less stark than having black and white. I didn't want anything colour because I felt it would sort of blend too much, and it also had the sentiment on the other side of the paper, so I managed to get both of these from the one sheet, and it really looked lovely. So I thought that was a really good image to include, especially as she's very flowy, and I think it's embrace the process was the quote, which really went with the page. Now I'm using a bit of dry wall tape that you can pick up from DIY stores and places like that, and I'm just using it as a stencil because it has like a very light tack to it. You can stick it down, put the paint through it, and then also lift it and move it to a new position. Now, you do have to be a little bit careful because obviously you don't want the paint to go underneath, but because it sticks, it actually helps. But I do try to put less rather than more paint on. I gave it a quick dry because I knew I wanted to then work with some paint pens on the top of this, and I'm going with the Arrtx white just to do a little bit of bordering and then adding some highlights. Now I started by doing whites in her eyes, and then I realized afterwards I was meant to do color and then white to the outside, then a bit of color and the black, but I decided to be very reversing with my colors and that. So I added in the pupils, then I had to go back in with some more colour, but it just, having her eyes just coloured and that bit of white highlighting was enough. That she didn't need any more colour on her at all. I felt that she really stood out then against the page. So finally, I'm just removing the tape, and that gives you that lovely crisp border. And this paper is really good. It doesn't tend to tear. So thank you ever so much for watching today. If you have enjoyed this video, do please give it a thumbs up. It all really helps for YouTube to know whether my videos are worth them pushing out to more people. And if you haven't already subscribed and you think this is the sort of content you would like to watch, do please consider giving that subscribe button a little push so that you can be notified, if you press the bell as well, of when I have new videos coming up. So until the next time, thank you so very much for watching. Bye bye.